What is up, everybody? This is Amelin from the BackLogs, and welcome to our 2023 Xbox predictions. 2023 is already off to a hot start with Hi-Fi Rush shadow dropping to critical acclaim, and Redfall and Minecraft Legends coming soon. If Xbox continues to play their cards right, this could be one of the biggest and most important years they've had to date. We know about Starfield, we know about Forza, and we know about the ever-looming Activision Blizzard deal that never seems to want to end. But what about the unknowns? What about the surprises? Let's jump into what we think Xbox could have in store this year to keep their momentum going. Some of these should be super obvious going in, and not everyone is a positive take on where Xbox is currently. But with that, let's begin. We're starting off with something I feel most of the community has accepted or at least are expecting in the near future, and that's Game Pass price increases. Now, I'm not expecting anything major, but at least a $5 markup across the board, making base Game Pass $15 and Ultimate $20 for a monthly subscription. We've been at these current prices since Game Pass launched in 2017, and that's been with just a dash of Xbox first-party titles thrown in. Now, I'm not saying there hasn't been plenty featured, but it hasn't exactly been the Xbox-branded subscription service you'd expect. However, not even counting the Activision Blizzard deal, Xbox has about 23 studios under their umbrella. Hypothetically speaking, if they can get their teams on track, that's enough to have one first-party title a quarter while still allowing at least a 3-year development cycle. Some of those studios having multiple teams within could help achieve this goal. We've recently seen this with Obsidian being able to release Grounded and Pentiment in the same year, with 2 more projects still in the works in Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2. If they were able to get everything lined up, they could easily start funneling in their own first-party titles every few months, expecting a little extra money tossed their way. Next up, we're taking a shot at Xbox's release calendar for this year. As we mentioned, we have the first half of the year essentially planned out. Minecraft Legends is due on the 18th of April, Redfall May 2nd, Hi-Fi Rush just released along with Age of Empires' first jump onto consoles. First half of the year is stacked, but what about the holiday season? Sadly, I think for the fall, all Xbox players are going to see is Forza Motorsport and Starfield being pushed back to a September-October or a September-November release window. Starfield, I feel, could eat one more delay to be the big end-of-the-year holiday juggernaut the teams been making it out to be, and as long as it's not a mess, I don't think the fans will be too upset waiting just a little bit longer to get their hands on it. Let's face it, if Starfield was still hitting the first half of the year, we'd have a date by now for pre-orders. While we're at it, I'd also like to tip my hat to Grounded. While I haven't personally dove into it yet, I feel for a 1-year anniversary, giving that game a Pirate's life-sized expansion that Sea of Thieves received would be a huge get for the player base and get more people exploring the backyard. There's also the slightest chance I could see Xbox dropping Hellblade this fall. I don't know if they'd want to put it directly up against Starfield, though, and give that game its own separate window to shine. Our third prediction is a generalized one that happens every year, but something I've been screaming from the rooftops for years. Xbox needs to bring back a beloved IP. Specifically Banjo, please and thank you. Seriously though, imagine at the end of Xbox's summer showcase we get hit with the opening notes to the Banjo-Kazooie theme song, or Sam Fisher's 3 green lights illuminating a dark screen signaling a new Splinter Cell. Sony has been super good about this recently, with Medieval and Fantavision releasing on PSVR 2, along with them assisting with the marketing for Crash Bandicoot 4 and Shenmue 3. Bringing back a dead IP could do wonders to help counter the narrative Xbox buying all the known IP that they currently have. Speaking of release windows, I sadly think we're getting radio silence on a lot of already announced projects until 2024. While I feel Xbox has learned to not announce things too early, Fable, Perfect Dark, and Machine Games' Indiana Jones project sadly are caught in the transition to that mindset. It's awesome that Xbox wants to directly fight the online narrative that we have no games, but when you're doing it years out, all those projects sadly lose steam and become question marks at the end of everything you do and announce. Have this year's showcase focus on the next 12 months like last year's, and if Fable or something fits into that window, then awesome. If not, give it the time it needs. The last thing Phil Spencer needs is another Scalebound or Fable Legends situation and games being cancelled after years of waiting. Speaking of that summer showcase, I personally feel Microsoft's going to return with a big in-person E3 style event. The past few years, companies have had to figure out how to do remote showcases, all following similar styles to Nintendo's Direct format, to varying degrees. While I feel they've all done a wonderful job transitioning, something still feels like it's missing from these events and announcements. The large crowds and audience reactions to announcements and reveals truly made these presentations sing and feel like something bigger than what they were. I'm not saying Xbox has to go out and rent out the Galen Center again, but even doing a smaller show at the Microsoft Theater for fans would be a pleasant surprise to see. Having an in-person event like that for fans to attend and be a part of the experience could really help bring them back into the goodwill that Xbox has lost the past few years. Before we go, the last thing I'd like to throw in is World of Warcraft being added to console for the first time. With the more casual approach that game's taken in recent years, I feel you could easily transition some of the gameplay to a controller instead of mouse and keyboard. I'm not saying you're going to be doing high-end raiding or mythic dungeons, but some of the daily activities you do could easily be done on a controller. While they're at it, throw out the subscription model that's a thing of the past and just put the game into Game Pass once the Activision Blizzard deal is done. Getting rid of that monthly paywall will open the door to thousands of new players you otherwise wouldn't have and help bring life into a game that has much more competition with the likes of Final Fantasy XIV and the MMO genre nowadays. And with that, that's the end of our 2023 Xbox predictions. What do you think they have in store? Anything you agree or disagree with? Be sure to let us know down below. Until next time, happy gaming.